Welcome all Tennoobs and Tennoobs, my name's King Maiju and welcome to my first video. In today's foray into the weird and wonderful world of Warframe, I'll be educating all of you on how not to get scammed or swindled in Warframe trading. Before I start this video, I'd like to preface it with the fact that most of the Warframe community are actually helpful and kind. With that being said, trading in Warframe can still be a sketchy place, with people trying to take advantage of Tenno that are less knowledgeable in the market. So we'll start off with the basics of trading and move on to more advanced telltale signs to look out for in this video. So by the end of this PSA, you can stay safe in your knowledge of selling and buying items to finalize your arsenal and get into decimating things on Steelpath. Remember, this information is subject to change, so like and subscribe just in case anything new comes out, as the scammiest of Tennos will definitely evolve as we do, like any true predatory creature. As a quick side note, you can only trade if you are MR2, so level up before you think of trading with anyone. And each level of MR you have will increase the amount of trade you can do in a day. But today I'm here to tell you how to protect your pockets when trading. Before we move forward, I give you fair warning that there will be spoilers in the upcoming game content, so if you don't want that, click away. Still here, can't say I didn't warn you. But as I'm understanding Tenno, I will give you a heads up at spoiler sections as they arrive. Now, with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get straight to it, shall we? People usually trade items in this game for a premium currency resource called Platinum, aka that plat. You get some completely for free at the start of the game, but it's also completely untradeable to other players. People often ask what the best thing to spend that untradeable plat on, and lots of people say Warframe or weapon slots. Yes, you do have to pay for your equipment space. It's a pain, but it is what it is. But feel free to use it how you like on cosmetics or anything that you can find in the marketplace that you're interested in. Slots are often earned through Nightwave and given away on holidays and events anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much. Make sensible choices though, and things that you aren't actually going to regret, because once it's gone, and you're going to have to trade for more plat or pay for it. So now you're ready for the true trading journey beginning. When trading, always price check the plat cost of the item you're buying, trading, swapping and or selling to get a fair understanding of the value. You can do this in numerous ways. I recommend joining a decent guild where people seem helpful. You can also find people to run missions with to increase the chances of building up your retinue to sell or to use. There you can also ask for a price check on items in these guilds. I fairly recommend it depending on your guild, as well as asking in trade chat for a price check. I wouldn't recommend that as much, as there are monsters in these waters, or price checking on a website called Warframe.market. That's quite recommended. There are also a few advanced programs that give you a rundown of items, but for now I recommend Warframe Market for prime parts, normal mods and everything else. It's a point of contention that a third-party website is more reliable than the in-game trade chat at the moment, and even Warframe Market can suffer from price manipulation. But for now, it's among the best ways to price check when people are buying and selling the item that you want to shift or obtain. So, how do you get plat without buying a premium currency directly, you ask? Well, there's videos detailing trading, and that is not what we're doing here. If you want to look at advanced trading methods, which I suppose everybody else is doing too, then you can find out more there. And if you've come here already, you probably have some idea, but a quick way to make plat is by selling level mods and prime parts and sets, usually just below market value. But do your research first. Remember that price check we just spoke about? Look up what mods and prime parts you have is most worth resale value if you don't want them or need them. But remember, if you do need those mods or prime parts later, be careful what you're offloading. There are different level ranges for each mod, with people selling higher leveled, aka ranked, mods for a higher price. However, the only ones that realistically hold a higher value in the beginning are rank 10 mods. This is because once a mod reaches rank 8, the game resource used to level it up, endo, approximately doubles with each subsequent level. So if you come across someone trying to sell you a max rank 5 for a much higher value than the base rank 0 mod, I advise you to politely decline and try and find a rank 0 version yourself, as it should be relatively easy for you to level up. And if you get your hands on a valuable mod that can go to R10 and you can level it up to its max to resell, I advise pricing it again just under the common market value to get you started if you need it. Trading is also a place to get prime Warframes, companions and weapon parts. All of these items have multiple components and a main blueprint to install these parts into that you craft on your ship. Be careful when you're trading for the weapon Warframe or buildable companion in question that it comes with all of the necessary parts along with the blueprint while purchasing it. The ones currently in a reward pool rotation you can farm for yourself using relics, unless you're lazy like a lot of us, but more on that later. However, by farming and selling your prime parts, it's another way that you can start building up your plat relatively quickly. The sooner you start this process, the more plat you will have later on for the fashion frame. It is best to collect all the parts in the blueprint to sell as a completed set, but if you see a decent offer for a part, go for it. However, some of these Warframes, weapons and companions have been vaulted. This just means that they've been taken out of the game's current reward pool rotation, meaning that the only way to get them is by buying or trading for their parts or relics. Relics are consumable items which you use for missions that contain a range of parts that you have a chance to obtain once you
use reactant to open relics
and complete the mission. If you want to learn more about relics, there are some pretty easy videos to find on farming. I don't even have a recommendation: seek and ye shall find. Just remember, whatever you buy or sell in relation to Warframes, weapons or companion parts are likely to be locked behind mastery rank, meaning that you can't use them until you reach that MR. So spend plat wisely and be aware of whether you can use the item that you want yet. Of course, you can buy it for future use, so you don't have to wait if you come across a deal you can't refuse.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
But ask yourself if it's necessary for the time being. If the things you do want are vaulted, look online when it's likely to come back into rotation. If you don't need to spend money on it, it can be worth saving the platinum for something more juicy down the line, like Riven. This game rewards patience and punishes your pocket for being unable to delay gratification. I know it's hard Tennoobs, but I promise you that self-control will save you lots of plat in the long run.
That bitch is getting rich.
Arcanes are another thing that increases your effectiveness in combat, starting from rank 0 to rank 5 for weapons and warframes. Some are easily farmable, others not so much, so pick and choose which ones you're going for and make sure that if you're buying them, you shop around for the best price. Just like I said, price check, price check, price check. This is number one rule in all of these trading methods. As usual, use Warframe Market to do that, or for at least a comparison. In all honesty, I went years without touching arcanes, so unless you're doing end-game content, you should be completely fine without them for a while. So now we've reached the most contentious item or mod in Warframe, the Riven weapon mods. These things are crazy. They come equipped with their own MR minimum requirement for you to use them, starting from MR7 and going up to 16, I believe. Riven are so complex that there is whole videos detailed to them alone. But for a quick summary, there are Rivens for every weapon in the game, each coming with its own set of random stat rolls from 2 to 3 positive stats and 0 to 1 negative stats. These stats can be any stat that exists for the weapon. Damage, critical chance, status chance, just to name a few. And that can be positive and negative, by the way, so you can get negative damage, negative crit. If it exists on a weapon, it can exist on a Riven. You can see how it gets crazy with traders looking for that perfect roll, but that's for another day, another dollar. For now, if you're below MR7, there are no Riven for your weapon. And if you are MR7, I suggest you try out more weapons before deciding to invest plat in one. There is little worse than heavily investing in an item that later becomes redundant and you don't need it anymore. And as your MR goes up, so does access to the weapon you can use and also the range of Rivens for sale. But wait, regardless, you just managed to unveil Riven mod, you say? How do you find out its value, you ask? Well, as I said about Warframe Market, you should go there. It has a section called contracts and type in the weapon, add its stats to find a comparison. But you can't find its stats? Okay, well, there's another place called Riven Market that you can search up first. Still no joy? No problem. Just leave the stats blank and keep on adding them on one by one until it stops displaying comparisons for both Warframe market and Riven market, and review the prices of Rivens with the same number of stat ranges that closely match your own, so you can gain an estimate. Just remember, certain stat rolls are more sought after than others, and with a negative added on, if you've got a negative that doesn't mess with the weapon, like minus zoom, it increases the stat ranges for the positive stats. This is all very complex stuff, but generally the most sought after positive stats on guns are critical chance, critical damage, multi-shot damage, sometimes status chance depending on the weapon, and the negative ones that people look out for is negative zoom, as it doesn't have an effect. Possibly for hit scan weapons, projectile speed and recoil, because hit scan doesn't really matter. But like I said, do your research into the weapon. There are exceptions to these rules. As a general rule, for the more expensive the bad rolls are on sites, the more expensive the Riven will be on a good roll in general. Melee is more varied, and I'm not a major melee user, so I can't help you with the stat ranges that are sought after, but you should be fine using the same methods for price checking, finding out the general price. So, you've done your research, realized that the Rivens that you rolled is a god roll, or you finally found a roll that you want through research, and you're ready to buy or sell. Well, you can list or look for your desired price on Warframe market, Riven market as usual, or try your hand in good old trade chat. But beware, young Tenno, there be monsters in these trade chat waters, are indeed. This is where the scams and lowballers be. Well, they're everywhere, but for the sake of argument, there's a high amount of that in trade chat. Now, it's relatively navigatable if you know your prices, so it shouldn't hurt to try and sell it in trade chat. But there are a few things to look out for. So here's an approach to that. Start by posting WTB, which means want to buy, or if you're selling WTS, short for want to sell, and linking the item in trade chat if selling. The first piece of advice I'd give you is never take the first offer in trade chat unless it's solidly the price that you're looking for. Even if you only had that one offer at the time, politely tell them that you're doing a price check or you're awaiting other incoming offers. If the item is sought after enough, you'll likely have a flood of offers coming. However, most will be underpriced if selling, or what we'd like to call lowball, or overpriced if you're buying. The problem with trade chat overall above Warframe market is there are trading guilds that band together to manipulate prices and try to bombard you with as many low offers as possible to create a sense of low value for the item that you're trying to sell, or that they've hoarded enough items to sell for an extremely high price and set their rates. This is stage one of their ploy. Stay firm in what you want to sell it for. As long as you know the prices, you should be okay. Often after the extremely low prices they pitch, they will send someone in who will behave very kindly towards you, and after building a rapport, they will again offer a low price. However, this is usually a bit under the market value rather than a lot under, like the first guys that will come to you, hoping that after the previous abuse that alt accounts or bad faith actors have provided you with, have ground you down to the point of just wanting to sell it. Still, keep a cool head and stay firm in your pricing. Explain that you are aware of the value of the thing that you're trying to sell and you won't budge on low value offers, especially if it is much below market value. A word of warning: each time you advertise, this loop may occur. Later, if you have good enough item to warrant it, they may also offer you way above the market price for it, then leave the trade. This is all part of their tactic to wear you down so they can get what they want for cheap. I advise you to ignore all those taking part in that behavior, although the ignore list can become pretty saturated very quickly. Spotting scam artists and colluders using old accounts is a helpful thing to learn, so you know how to assess who you're dealing with. I've left this section unmarked, as anyone who's gone through this entire video is unlikely to be a scammer. If a few's made it through, I apologize, Tenno, but they're probably going to change their tactics after this. I'll try and update this if they do. Number one, they'll often start with an incredibly low offer and pretend to be joking about it. Number two, they'll bombard you and insult your knowledge, or possibly you too, saying that you don't know the value of your stuff. Number 3, they often have a random throwaway name riddled with numbers or letters, as they can't be bothered creating something unique, as most people that care about their account put effort into the name and giving it some meaning. Number 4, check their in-game profile. MR15s up with no cosmetics on their Warframe or operator, or have any deviations from standard color palettes, likely mean that they don't care enough to put their effort into that fashion frame because they're doing enough of it in their main account. Number 5, only metal weapons have been built and used on their profile for the most part. While this isn't a dead giveaway, with the other things in conjunction with this, it's a pretty good sign that it's an alt account, because why test other weapons out if you already know what's effective? Now, you might not know what metal weapons are, but if you're getting into ribbon trading, if you just take a short look at trade chat, it will show what weapons are being sold, what ribbons are being sold the most. This is probably a good indication of what is meta. So that's a way to check what the current meta is. Number 6, this only applies to console players. Sadly, check their achievements. If they have a mid-level MR but lots of their achievements are completed very close together time-wise, or none of it at all, it is likely they have zero cares and have just completed what is necessary and have power leveled through the game. And number 7, if you get bombarded with multiple messages, check the guilds that are associated with them. Screenshot and take notes. Later, if more people from that guild do the same thing, you are probably dealing with guild ults trying to fatigue you. Now, sometimes they exist in separate guilds and different guilds to spread it out, but if this happens multiple times, try and take note of who you're speaking to, what guilds they're a part of, so you can build up a large picture of what's going on. Number 8, later you get an offer with a high price range and they go offline or ghost you. It's most likely a salty member of the trade group ults that are trying to get back at you for not folding. Once again, take note, ignore, and basically just keep on trading. The final piece of trade advice is about pets. Some of them can be quite collectible and they have their own market prices entirely, so I'd advise you to do some deeper research. Warframe market is not a good place to go for this, unless you just want to buy the pet for mastery rank, and then there's cheap ones on there. But if you're getting into pet trading, I suggest you start looking at things alternately to find out more about it. So, after all of this stuff, I'm sure you just want to get to playing. So in summary of the key points, do your research before you buy and sell. Watch out for those scammy trade sneaks trying to fleece you out of plat. Learn the differences between each items in the game. Not all mods, arcades or primes are created equal. I hope that this comprehensive guide on how not to get rickrolled in Warframe has been helpful. Until we meet again, Tenno, for the Lotus.